Welcome to Chronicles of My Inner Worlds. Today we'll dive together into a deep and transformative inner journey. This is the 60-second session of the 2024 season, where Christophe is accompanied by Christine. We're going to explore a fascinating spiritual experience that begins with, of all things, a complete disaster. It's an incredible account from a spiritual hypnosis session, where a vision of a sinking ship leads to this profound revelation about inner peace and our place in a much larger story. So let's get into it.
So the whole journey kicks off right here, with this incredibly specific and, frankly, disastrous vision. It's a hovercraft, which seems to represent some kind of project or venture, and it's sinking, all because of a simple mistake. Someone forgot to close the door. On the surface, it just looks like a total failure.
So you have to ask, right? Why? Why on earth would a deep, profound inner experience start with an image of such a catastrophic mess? It's just a really strange, counterintuitive way to kick off a journey of self-discovery.
And this is where it gets really interesting. This is the central paradox of the whole thing. The vision was one of total failure, a sinking ship. But the feeling that came with it was the complete opposite, a sense of profound inner peace, even deep joy. So how can those two things possibly exist at the same time? Well, that's the mystery we're going to unpack. Okay, so first things first, we have to lean right into this contradiction. It kind of challenges that basic idea we all have, that external success is what leads to internal happiness. So how can an image of a sinking venture coexist with a feeling of absolute, unwavering peace? Well, it turns out the sinking hovercraft was never really the point. It was more like a symbolic wake-up call. All the focus on this external project had been kind of obscuring something that was already there, internally. The so-called failure was just the trigger that forced a shift in perspective, a reason to finally look inward.
And what was waiting beyond that failure? This incredibly powerful insight, the feeling, the assurance of being a small but absolutely essential part of a masterpiece that is way bigger than any one person or project. That realization, not the success of some hovercraft, is the real source of that profound peace.
Now, to describe just how intense this feeling was, the participant used this really powerful metaphor. He said it was like Moses coming down from Mount Sinai, his face so radiant with light that people couldn't even look at him directly. And it's not about feeling superior or anything like that. It's about an inner state that's just so potent, so bright, it's almost overwhelming.
So this initial revelation, this idea of finding peace in what looks like failure, really just sets the stage for a much broader theme. The journey now starts to pivot from analyzing that one moment to totally redefining what it even means to live a peaceful life.
And this is such a crucial reframing. Peace, in this context, isn't about inaction. It's not about retreating from the world to go meditate on a mountaintop. Instead, it's defined as an active, felt sense of connection. It's a deep core knowing that you are never, ever truly alone.
And to really explain this idea of active peace, the session uses this brilliant metaphor. Just having the tools for peace, like, say, owning a bow and arrows, that's just a passive state. It doesn't really do anything. The real work, the active practice, is in using them, exercising with them, to build self-knowledge and trust in what you're capable of. At this point in the journey, something really shifts. The experience becomes less about conscious thoughts and insights, and a lot more like a deep dive. A plunge into the unseen depths of the mind, a place that's way beyond active thinking.
And this metaphor of deep-sea diving becomes the absolute key to understanding it. The person felt like he had gone so deep into his own consciousness that he couldn't just rocket back to the surface. Just like a diver trying to avoid the bends, he knew intuitively that he had to come back up in stages.
So this really breaks down the structure of that dive. First, there was this descent into a super deep state. Then, while he was under, some kind of inner treatment was just running, kind of like a background task on a computer. And here's the wild part. He only realized just how deep he'd gone during that final stage, a slow, careful ascent back to normal awareness.
I love this modern metaphor of a background task. It's just such a perfect way to grasp what was happening. It's almost like his subconscious was running a deep healing program, defragmenting the hard drive, running a virus scan, all without any conscious effort from him at all.
And now we get to the most crucial part of the whole journey. This is where this deeply personal, abstract inner experience connects to a much larger collective story. This is where all the different pieces really start to click into place. So think all the way back to the beginning, that vision of a failed hovercraft trying to cross the English Channel. Now consider the context. The session itself was physically happening near Caen in France, which was a key site for the Normandy landings. And suddenly, that one geographical detail reframes the entire vision, connecting a personal sense of failure to one of the largest collective sacrifices in human history, D-Day.
This reframing led to this incredibly profound question. It completely shifts the perspective from a purely human, historical event to a spiritual one. It's asking, from the soul's point of view, what grand purpose could possibly have motivated so many people to participate in such a massive collective act of sacrifice?
And that brings us to the ultimate philosophy that comes out of this entire session, this soul's perspective. It's the idea that our individual lives are like single threads in this massive collective tapestry, a masterpiece. We might not always be able to see the full picture from where we stand, but every life, every choice contributes to it.
So this is really the core question the experience leaves us with. It challenges us to look at our own lives and wonder, are our personal struggles, our triumphs, actually resonating with a much larger story? A plan that's operating on a scale that we can't fully grasp from our limited point of view.
So what's the final lesson here? What do we do with this? Well, it's really a call to let go. Instead of constantly trying to control everything or understand it all with our rational minds, the goal is to simply become a clear, open channel and allow that larger purpose, that energy, to flow through us.
The journey closes with this beautiful, simple, yet really profound metaphor, the echo. The idea is that we don't receive these deep insights by actively hunting for them. They arrive like an echo, which you can only really hear in an empty space. So, by creating that inner quiet within ourselves, we finally make room to welcome it.
And that's the thought we'll end on today. From a sinking hovercraft to the beaches of Normandy, and finally to the echoes within our own hearts, this journey suggests that maybe the most profound discoveries aren't found by doing more, but by becoming still enough to listen. What might be waiting in your own inner quiet? And now, let's move on to the musical composition, directly inspired by this session. If you enjoyed this episode, click the thumbs up, leave a comment to share your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any future journeys in Chronicles of My Inner Worlds. If you were moved by what you heard, share this episode around you. Sometimes a single word can make all the difference. See you very soon for another inner journey.
The gate was open. The boat just sank, and I felt light. I built my vessel strong and tall, chased the tide, I gave my all, but the harbor door stood wide, and the sea took hold with no goodbye. It wasn't loss, it was release. The sky didn't fall, it just let go. I thought I'd fail, I thought strength without a crowd, to trust the hand I've known, so proud. The arrow flew, but not for show. It touched the dark and made it glow. The task below, they never stopped, while I was lost in thoughts I'd hoped, like code unseen and silent cause, healing me while I ignored. I didn't climb, I rose in stages, slowing down through hidden passages. No rush to land, no need to prove, just presence and the grace of truth. When the boat sinks, I dance, dance. It dance. It doesn't fly, but it lifts me higher, lifts me. Oh, peace isn't earned when things go right. It shines like Moses on the mountain's light. I'm not the pilot, I'm the channel where the water flows. That's where I'm free. Channel, no name, flow, no map, joy, no cause. Who are you when nothing's planned? When every goal is slipped away? When your mind is still and your soul expands and the world just lets you stay. The deepest work is never seen. The roots grow dark, the flower leans. Your presence is the cure, not what you do, but who you are. When the boat sinks, we dance, dance, dance. It doesn't fly, but it lifts us higher, lifts us higher. Peace isn't earned when things go right. It shines like Moses on the mountain's light. We're not the pilots, we're the channels where the water flows. That's where I'm free. Channel, no name, flow, no map, joy, no cause. I am what flows through me. You thought you failed, but maybe you just made space. And the masterpiece was already here.